Hello and welcome. My name is Voldis from Data, and today we are joined by Chris and Mike from Dell Technologies, and we'll be discussing the CSP program and the Apex tie-in around that. If you're unfamiliar with these topics, we're going to go into depth about what they are and how they work. Chris, please introduce yourself.
Hi Voldis, it's a pleasure to be here at Data. So my name's Chris Lee and I head up the CSP business for the channel for Dell Technologies.
Hi Voldis, my name's Mike Whatley. I head up the Apex business for channels across ANZ.
Excellent, thanks. Right, so we find ourselves in an interesting point in time with technology and how people consume technology for business. So this is where we've got the CSP program and the Apex complementary product to that one. Where is the market today and why do we need the CSP program?
Yeah, sure Voldis. So you say it's an interesting time. Actually it got interesting around circa 15 years ago. You see the hyperscalers, they came up with a proposition or sort of proposal to revolutionize the way end user customers consume IT. Their proposal was essentially, we don't need infrastructure tin on site, we don't need as many IT staff, we have ability to scale and when it can be consumed as a service. So, and everyone, you know, it was revolutionary and the market took it up in a big way and still takes it up in a big way today. If I could put that in one word, what they introduced the market to was OpEx. So IT consumed as a service. Where is the market today? Well, in terms of, we got Canalys to have a look at the available cloud business for the channel in ANZ. And in 2021, it was $6.5 billion that's available for the channel the cloud business that the channel could actually be selling. Last year, and this is calendar year 2022, went up to 8.5 billion. So it's $2 billion growth in just 1 year. So it's a significant market for the channel to operate in. And you'll see as channel partners, they're all kind of reporting that they need to sell more in order to make the same kind of money. Like their costs have gone up, and this is just prevalent with the economy. So yeah, we're seeing a significant growth. The channel has seen it from day one. You know, they were on board as well. So outside of the hyperscalers, you know, the channel partners embraced as a service in a very big way. So the amount of MSPs and CSPs in ANZ has grown dramatically. It's growing all the time. And I'm getting actually many channel partners approach Dell to become what's called a cloud service provider, which I can go through in a bit more detail.
Yeah, Australia has been, right from the get-go, quite an early adopter and a heavy adopter of the hyperscalers. And I guess over the time, a lot of those workloads, people have gone, oh, some of it lives on the cloud, but some of it has to live on-prem. And I guess that's where the CSP side of things and the MSP side of things really comes into play, that the MSPs need to have kit to actually put these workloads on, and that is the program that can assist with that.
Yeah, we see that again, it goes back to what the original proposal was from the hyperscalers, was to move it to an OpEx model. Now, the reality is, that's not just the hyperscaler domain. Right? The channel partner can do that, and the channel partners are doing that. In fact, if you have a look at the statistics, from 2023 to 2026, the traditional CapEx purchase, infrastructure on-prem is literally static over the next 3 years. The hyperscaler business will go up 25%, but the private hybrid cloud market will go up 80%. So that's the fastest growing market. So there's many reasons for that. But it comes down to, if you have a look at an end user customer's reasons, and then I'll go through the partner's reasons, but there are really three factors that are driving an end user to ask a partner, I need to go to the cloud. What they're effectively saying is, I need to go OpEx. The three reasons are latency, physicality, or we call it a law of physicality, And that would include the edge, data gravity. It include cost, setup costs, egress costs, and the other one will be data sovereignty and cybersecurity, right? So when I say to the channel partners, when you get one of your end users, your long-time end users suddenly say, and you're a traditional reseller, I want to go to the cloud, cool. There's 3 clouds, right? You got to, and they've got to decide which one works for you, right? Which one works for the end user. There's public cloud, there's private cloud, there's hybrid cloud. And then you next ask those 3 questions, right? What's important to you? Are egress costs important to you or not? Right? Data gravity, latency, sovereignty. Again, classic examples where local council, and sovereignty is a classic example, right? Because in some of the state governments, the data actually has to be within the state. And that's in many government organisations, but even there are organisations out there such as local councils. It doesn't actually need to be in the local council LGA, but it's very rare to find a local council that doesn't want the data in its own LGA. We get a lot of that. In terms of what's driving it outside of those factors, there is another very, very significant factor for end user customers that didn't exist around 15 years ago. So 15 years, around that time frame, cybersecurity was a big factor for end users, right? End user customers. But there was other factors such as we had unpredictable bursting, unpredictable workloads, our sites, our systems went down, we lost money, okay? That was a big thing at the time. The hyperscalers, very much marketed that correct, you can burst with us, we only bill you as a service, okay? That still exists today. The big change now is cybersecurity. Back 15 years ago, the number one thing that kept a CIO up at night was not getting a hack, getting a breach, data breach. It is now. So from an end user perspective, they don't want to be on the hook, or they want to limit their liability. They want to outsource as much of their potential risk as possible to partners that can manage their IT infrastructure in a safe and secure and compliant environment and way.
Pay somebody else to make it their problem.
To take the risk, pay a specialist to take that on. So that's a great opportunity for channel partners, right, who want to get into that space. The other factor as well is the economy is worsening, as we know, right? And who knows what's going to happen with America next year. But what you're seeing is an appetite for a predictable monthly bill from end user customers. And I hear partners all the time, and they're traditional resale partners, and say, we've got an RFI, interesting. They want one as traditional resale, and they now want it as a service as well.
So it's interesting, Chris, to see that customers are asking for this as a service, OpEx way of consuming technology. How are the channel reacting to that?
Yeah, they love it, and they have been for some time. Like most businesses, their annuity is just as important for them as is it to any other business. In fact, I hear figures of how much value annuity puts on a channel partner's business, so reoccurring revenue. Generally, the figure I hear is 9-fold. So let's say, for example, if a channel partner wanted to be bought out, say, for example, put its business up for sale, and there has been attrition in the channel market and consolidation, and there's probably going to be more of that to come. They generally, if they've got $1 million of annuity subscription business, they can put a price tag of $9 million on the business. So they love it. And your business it's not going to be valued on how much you resold the previous year or two. It's going to be on how much subscription you have on the books. So yeah, there is multiple factors driving the channel to increase their subscription business, not just the end users, they actually want it.
Yeah, it's with all subscriptions, right? Think about any of the other pay TV options that we've all got. Once you've signed up and you just get that monthly bill, even if you're not using it 100%, you kind of just go, oh, just keep it.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. So the bulk of the partners, the Dell partners that we work with you on Voldis, they're traditional solution provider partners. So they effectively purchase tin services, and then they add a margin and they resell that on. They sell it to the end user. They now need a separate account. We're getting a lot of requests for the CSP account. So what they can do is, I've even seen on tenders where it's a resale tender, where the channel partner says, okay, cool, so here's your price. By the way, here is the price for as a service. The opportunity as well for the channel partner is, if they provide an as a service price per month, Dell is sometimes only 40 to 50% of that bill. They're putting other services and solutions onto it as well. So it's really good business for our channel.
Yeah, and we've seen other people talk that with the as a service side of things, you can actually then buy the tin at a cheaper price, so to speak, because you know you're going to be making the margin in the long term over a longer period of time.
How the partner cookie cuts it is entirely up to them. Yeah. Effectively, I might actually touch a little bit on the CSP program for your partners that don't know of it. And we have around we have a fair number signed up. I think we're now over 60 in ANZ. The primary difference is, well, we architect it. Dicker and Dell, we actually do the architecture of the solution with the channel partner for the end user. So we recognize, Dell is a multi-cloud organization, and we recognize that businesses have, well, the average business has 3 clouds. Okay, so what we do is we do the architecture to decide, okay, so you want private cloud, you want hybrid cloud, and we help the end user and we help the partner decide which workloads can go into the hyperscaler, which ones go with the private cloud, etc. So we do all of that work. In terms of the ownership and the billing, well, the ownership stays with the channel partner unless it's Flex on Demand, which Mike will go through, Apex Flex on Demand. But the bulk of the CSP business is purchased either CapEx or DFS lease. And DFS lease is a huge factor of why the Dell CSP program is so successful. And that's on top of our market leadership in basically the hardware. So we're really one throat to choke. When we have let's say a channel partner has an RFP, well, Dell is the market leader in server, storage, HCI, private cloud. We have DPS products, and then we're backed by Dell Financial Services. So it's kind of one throat to choke. And for a channel partner, when you're gold and above, or a metal tier partner, gold being you spend $400K US a year, you get significant rebates. And you can actually be a cloud service provider and a solution provider and get to that 400K. So you could do 200K under your cloud service provider account, 200K under your solution provider account, and then you become gold. Minimum training requirements become gold, $2 million US for platinum, a bit more training requirements. Valdis, as you know, there are certain products that can get you to that figure faster. So there are some high value storage products which you countless times too. So you could probably do 200K of that and then you hit your 400K mark. The primary, outside of that one throat to choke, that market leadership, the quality of the infrastructure, the assistance in architecture of all of that, and having behemoths of Dell and Dicker behind you, is something called a core team shadow goaling. So previously in the past, right, then the partners were the first to catch on to this very early on. They were purchasing equipment for their own private clouds, their own multi-tenant clouds, or sometimes even just dedicated environments, and as a servicing it out, we weren't actually sure where it was going to. So under the CSP program, we know who it's going to, and if there are Dell core reps that are actually aligned to that end user, it's an opportunity for the partner and the Dell rep to work together and co-sell in together. So the partner effectively gets another sales rep. And it's just a good story. It's a good environment. The core rep says, okay, this is fantastic. If, let's say, for example, use the example of, like, let's say, again, a council rep, when we have, I think there's 140, maybe about 130 LGAs in New South Wales. I mean, that rep is stretched, and that rep is seeing local councils request infrastructure as a service in their LGAs. That rep then says, okay, well, great, I know I have this CSP in that area, mid-north coast, for example, New South Wales, etc., Vic, wherever. I can then work with them and respond with them. And sometimes I see, because local councils are a classic example, need 3 quotes, you generally see a traditional resale partner say, well, I'll knock out 2 quotes. Here's a quote for resale motion, and here's a quote for as a service, and that's 2 done. That actually does count, and it has counted.
Interesting. And yeah, it's definitely getting the, like you're saying, the behemoth of Dell behind you, especially as like an extension to your sales team, where the collaboration, it's a win-win situation. There's really no downside to that one. It's a really good story to go down.
Yeah, we have a lot of success working with our distributors, and we have a lot of success with Dicker Data. Who've been just fantastic CSP wins we're getting with you guys all the time. And a lot of that is to do with we engage early, straight from an architectural perspective. We then bring in our PSCs, our cloud PSCs, as is needed. And it's all about engaging early, helping them architect. It was interesting, we had a recent one where we're very close to closing out, where the CIO just said, look, I've been told by the board, I just need to go to the cloud, and that's fine. That's great. So you've been told you need to go, you just told me you need to go to the cloud? Well, you are going to the cloud. You're going to OpEx? He goes, yeah, absolutely. And that's it stays in the LGA, and it's as a service. It's a great opportunity for our channel, and we would suggest, to a channel partner that's interested in this, don't be intimidated. There is no minimum entry to a CSP deal. Okay, not everything is multi-tenant, large, build it and they come. I see CSP deals or as a service deals of 75K. Right? You only need 3 or 4 of them, and depending on the product, and you're going to immediately hit gold. And many of your partners are probably already gold anyway. So a great opportunity for the channel.
And then with that shadow goaling on the back end, when we're trying, with the assistance of Dell, that can generate more business for the customer and more
for the partner as well, because
yeah.
the Dell core reps are actually now exposed. Okay, I've done a deal successfully with this cloud service provider and I got paid on it.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to be saying, I want to do more. And we see this all the time.
And then that partner wins the opportunity and you get that relationship and that win-win side of things.
Absolutely.
But as you mentioned very rightly as well, is that it's all about building the correct solution. So have a chat, get involved early, find out what the customer's requirements are, figure out exactly what they need, and then we can work backwards from there and go, these are the behemoth that is Dell. We've got all these different opportunities, different products. We can basically tailor however you want to see your solution, we'll get there somehow. And a really good example of that is Apex. Mike, how can Apex tie into all of this?
Yeah, sure thing. So Apex is one of Dell's key go-to-markets, right? And very important to Apex is the channel. In fact, last year, something like 90% of business went via the channel, and a significant portion of that goes to CSP. So what is Apex? It's the ability for our CSP partners, in this case, to procure infrastructure, anything pretty much that can go into the data center. But 2 key things. One is it's a shared risk proposition. So we will design a solution and we will over-provision that solution that enables CSPs and their customers to actually grow into that infrastructure.
That's the flex on demand.
That's the flex on demand piece, yeah. And essentially what that means is that you don't pay for infrastructure or that additional capacity until you use it. So one of the key reasons that cloud has been such a prevalent and successful business model is that it's pay as you grow or pay as you use and so on. And Apex allows us to deliver to CSPs via Dicker that ability to basically only pay for resources as they're consumed.
Yeah, it's also very important to note that Dell is not becoming a hyperscaler at this point. We are just providing solutions that have this capacity to scale on-prem.
Very, very true. There's a perception out there that Apex is competitive to CSP. And that is absolutely the inverse of what it is. So as I say, 90% of our business goes through the channel. We're not looking to become a hyperscaler. We're not looking to provide private cloud at scale. The whole idea is to support our partners to be able to deliver the agility of public cloud, so to speak, and actually deliver that in a private cloud fashion or to their customers.
Yeah, and that goes back to all the other points that we were mentioned before around data gravity, security, latency, all that. Then you've got that same feel of a hyperscaler, somewhere where you know where it is, with all the goodness that goes along with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a perspective on this is that the hyperscalers did not and are not succeeding because they're cheaper, so to speak. They're succeeding because it's an OpEx, because it's resources on demand, because they're offering great services. What Apex is allowing our CSPs to do is offer that business model, but without having to commit chunks of capital up front, and without necessarily needing to engineer things to the nth degree. As I say, the infrastructure's there for them to switch on and use when they need to, as they win new customers, or as their existing customers want to switch on more services, right? That agility of cloud, without having to commit chunks of capital up front, or indeed enter a lease where you've got committed payments all the way through. So really the time to value is almost instantaneous once the infrastructure is deployed.
Yeah, I think a really good example of that would be the Dell Technology, the VX Rails, where it's a HCI solution where normally we'll size it for what is the workload today. We'll build in a bit of a buffer from a solution side of things. Where the Apex side comes in with the flex on demand, you go, okay, this is what you guys are using today and a little bit for tomorrow, but we will give you an extra 20% on top of that one.
Sometimes up to 60% extra.
Up to 60, okay.
Yeah.
So you've got that huge buffer if you're looking, it's just there. Please try and use it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shared risk model, as I say. It's been exceptionally successful. So we've been doing this in anger for a couple of years, shall we say, and in Australia and New Zealand, probably about 18 months. I mean, globally, as of Q3 last year, we were $1 billion US business, and the numbers just came out for Q4, and we actually did $1 billion of Apex globally, right? So it's a huge opportunity for us and for our partners. And what we're seeing out there as well is that people, as I said, want that cloud model. They want it anywhere. You know, they want it at the edge, they want it at the core. They don't necessarily want it in the hyperscaler, because we've all seen projects where that you go into the hyperscaler, it's not giving you the return on investment that you need.
The bill shock.
Very much so.
I think everybody's got a story on hyperscaler bill shock.
Yeah, very much so. So it then comes down to the question to the customer is, okay, you want to go to cloud, what does that mean to you, right?
Multi-cloud.
Multi-cloud. And we're not coming and saying don't run workloads in the public cloud, because quite frankly we do at Dell. We use Microsoft 365, right?
We
use Teams.
We just help architects to see which workloads will be best in that.
Back to what we were saying. What is the end result? Not every workload is on-prem, not every workload is in the cloud.
Right.
There is some form of balance, and just finding that right balance and having Dell be able to play nicely with everybody involved.
Very much so. And look, I'll perhaps take it away from the commercial model, if I may, for a minute. So you've got customers that say, do you know what, I actually really like the tools that I'm using in the public cloud, but I want to deploy them anywhere. So under Apex is not just a commercial model, but it's also our multi-cloud go-to-market. So as an example, I love running Microsoft Azure, and I want to run that everywhere. So we've got validated designs for Microsoft Azure that you can go and deploy services at the edge or wherever you want that to happen. And that's a big part that our CSP can play there as well. Or, you know, I really like running Red Hat workloads. How can I deploy those anywhere? How can I consume them rather than pay for them up front? And again, Apex got a great story there. Similar story with Google Anthos, similar story with EKS as well. So the point here under Apex is that yes, you can subscribe to technology. You can deliver the agility and the simplicity of the public cloud. You can deliver that anywhere, and you can use the tool sets of the public cloud anywhere. Or if you're already running Dell software on-prem, so to speak, or at the CSP, and you want to replicate that experience into the public cloud, then you're going to see us being able to offer our software stack in the public cloud as well.
Yeah, it's a big push from Dell that I've seen recently, is that a lot of the software that is currently on their traditional tin, be it say the Power Store OS and other VxRail, that they've taken that and put it in the hyperscalers so that you do have that seamless multi-cloud Dell the whole way through, the same feeling, the same
operating experience.
Yeah.
And also, you can make public cloud run more effectively, so to speak. Let's give you an example and why this is an opportunity for CSPs. So data domain, so data protection. We currently protect exabytes of data in the public cloud. Now, why would you do that, and why would you not use the native tools and so on? A couple of reasons. One is, you compress and dedupe data very, very effectively, so you reduce your hyperscaler spend. Second key thing is an opportunity for our CSPs is that if you're protecting data at the CSP level, on-prem or at the edge, it's the same tool set to run that and protect data in the public cloud. So then they can go to their customers and say, do you know what? We accept and we understand why you're running workloads in the public cloud. There's a better way for you to do that, and then it becomes a managed service opportunity for the CSP/MSP.
Yeah, and I think that's right. It's that understanding that the Apex and the multi-cloud story, that you've got that feel of the traditional one that's been, since you're saying since 15, that people understand that one. Dell have come in, and now the CSP program's gone, look, let's talk. We've got the same feel of how you want to consume.
Exactly. It all comes down to OpEx. And outside of the scalability factors of Apex FOD, there are just some channel partners that say, I love all of this, I want all of this, but I don't want to retain title either via CapEx or standard DFS lease. And so, okay, great, then we'll do a shared risk model where it gets involved.
Yeah, again, like we said, what is the end result that you want to get to? Absolutely. There is somewhere within the Dell story we can get you an answer.
Yeah, we can cookie cut it as multiple different ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Multiple different days within the same opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of why this is growing so quickly. And this is probably fairly straightforward, but we all know that when you do a traditional CapEx or even a rental, you size a solution and you say it's a 5-year infrastructure, I think I need this much. For the first 3 years, typically, you're going to see that you've got over-provisioned waste. You've committed chunks of CapEx up front, and for the first 3 years, you've got a whole bunch of resource that you're not using, so it's over-provisioned waste. You might get a return on investment year 4, and then year 5, oh, hang on, I've got under-provisioned risk because, no one can forecast where they're going to be in 5 years' time. One of the things that Apex delivers is, as I say, that shared risk model, that buffer of resource that is Dell's risk, and therefore, you're not wasting money, or you're not under-provisioned and risking your business there.
Yeah, and most of these plays are as long as possible, right? 5 years generally, then you've got to refresh. At least playing with the big boys, Dell, the technology is going to continue beyond that. And when you've got the OSs in the cloud, you don't need to worry about the longevity of your solution either.
Very true. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to point something out as well. Chris talked about the market opportunity. I think it's really important to understand for CSP. It's actually an 80% compound annual growth rate for Apexes that we're seeing globally as well. So, the opportunity for CSP, MSP, Dicker and Dell is absolutely huge. So we're here to actually support that.
Right. So I think we've all seen partners that end up getting opportunities where they start the discussion and the end user goes, we're going to the cloud. And they're basically losing that opportunity. How do you approach that?
Well, or they even just walk away. They literally just, okay, that's fine. That's a way you'd approach it is, again, you get the channel partner to ask the 3 questions. Again, talk about the laws of physicality, the laws of economics, the egress costs that Mike has spoken about. I mean, cloud repatriation, or from the public cloud, or the hyperscalers, is real. It is absolutely happening. A lot of that is to do with cost. And it could, again, sovereignty matters, right? So the partner then needs to see that as an opportunity, and then immediately engage Dicker and Dell, because what the end user is primarily wanting to do is they want to move to an OpEx model for all the reasons we've already mentioned. Don't the risk of a data breach, don't have enough IT staff, economy's bad, I want a consistent bill, want a monthly bill, etc. So the opportunity is to engage Dicker and Dell, and then we will help guide them And as I said, we will do the architecture. At the end of the day, the channel partners are our hunters out there for this business, and we are there to help them. And they're, in terms of just walking away from business, they're walking away from a lot of potential rebates. As I said, we're in one of those unique positions where we can do the storage, and then you got rebates on that, and then we can do the servers, rebates on that, the networking, the HCI, everything else, the services. Then if they go to Apex, I mean, what are the rebates like on Apex?
Well, there's actually multipliers on storage as an example, but across the board on Apex. So, you're talking significant double-digit rebates available for partners for an Apex construct.
Yeah, it encourages you to go out there and push it. And as you mentioned, it's having that deeper conversation, because today it might only be a server, but once you've started down the path and the relationship with Dell, you can add storage, you can add everything else, and it all builds into this big picture and potentially a very lucrative picture on the back end.
Valdis, you and I have had conversations where it was just a dedicated one-off deal, and then the partner, when they looked into it, they said, actually, it's a good opportunity for us to move into a multi, or build something out and build it, and they come. So those opportunities can escalate pretty quickly. We've started off at many opportunities of 50K and it ended up being 400 at the end of it about 6 weeks later. We've had opportunities that we thought were going to be in Q4 and we're closing now, because we realise how fast we can move, and it doesn't take long to stand a hybrid cloud up. So the opportunity is there, and the channel partners absolutely should not miss out on it, especially because it's annuity revenue, and channel partners are looking for annuity revenue for their business. Yeah,
and OpEx budgets are a lot easier to pass than CapEx budgets.
15 years ago, it would be every 3 years the CIO would have to apply for funds for an infrastructure refresh, and that's not on the table anymore, and it hasn't been for some time. So OpEx is absolutely here to stay.
Yeah. All right, it's been a pleasure having a chat to you guys. Interesting topic and a lot of information for our partners to digest. If anybody has any further requirements to know about the CSP program or how Apex can assist with their opportunities, please reach out to the Dicker Data team and we'll be more than happy to put you in touch with the Dell Technologies guys. Thanks.